So, post that cup final defeat yesterday, the debate has already begun over the future of certain players at the club. There appears to be a growing speculation surrounding one of Rangers' star players, Todd Cantwell, and his future at Rangers. Todd Cantwell was obviously substituted in the second half, rather bizarrely for Scott Wright. Scott Wright going in to play the 10 role. I mean, you can kind of try and pick that substitution apart all you want. I think the idea of the substitution was trying to get some extra pace onto the pitch. However, given the fact that I didn't think Todd Cantwell was playing that badly, I do think that was not the best substitution to make at that point. Cantwell did seem to be one of the players that did seem to care yesterday, did seem to want to get after Celtic, and did seem to, really get stuck in. Yes, he got booked whilst going off the field for some retaliation against Greg Taylor after Taylor had earlier fouled him and then tried to drag him back to his feet after he had fouled him. I think Cantwell was, kicked pretty much all over the park by Celtic yesterday and was mercilessly trolled and abused by Celtic fans yesterday as well. And I understand that, obviously Todd brings a lot of that on himself with his social media work, with what he does down there, with some of the things that he says. But look, that's what you get with these players who have a bit of an ego, have a bit of an edge to them. You do get that. And a point that I made on a previous video, could you imagine what Gaza would have posted had there been Instagram, Twitter, etc. back when he was playing for Rangers? I can only imagine the stuff that would have gone out there. Some very funny comments as well I had on that when I first suggested that. Somebody saying about a selfie with Raoul Moat, which was just crazy. Todd Cantwell is an absolute enigma. He is a player who has bags of talent, absolute bags of talent. He has the ability to unlock a defense with a fantastic pass. He has the ability to go past players. He has the ability to score goals, to create for others. He has the ability to cross very well. He has scored, that goal, for instance, I guess it could have been a fluke against Dundee. He scored recently against Hearts. He assisted, obviously, with that fantastic run against Hearts in the semi-final as well. So look, he's had a decent enough season. At times injuries obviously held him back as well. That injury he sustained against St Johnstone, where he was kicked from the pitch again after getting no protection from refs. I mean, the Premiership stats this season: 30 games, 7 goals, 5 assists. So you're looking at 12 goal contributions in 30. You would realistically, for a 10, want to see a little bit more than that. 1 goal in 4 matches in the Europa League, 2 games in the Scottish League Cup, 4 games in the Champions League this season for Todd Cantwell, obviously, along with the games that he played in the Scottish Cup. Now, after the game yesterday, Todd Cantwell confronted the officials, even though he had been substituted. And Phillipe Clement was then seen on video to physically shove away his star player and seemed to be yelling and shouting at Cantwell. Well, some people have taken this as the fact that Big Phil has lost his rag with and he's lost his patience with Cantwell and some of his antics. There has been rumours throughout the season of a fallout, of a lack of understanding between Cantwell and Clement all season. Many people obviously saying that this could be the end of the road. I mean, even CJ Nova on a recent video suggested that the game against Dundee could be Cantwell's final game at Ibrox. Look, I think Big Phil there, look, I know that can be interpreted. None of us know what actually was said or what actually Big Phil's intention was by doing what he did. Now, some people will say, like I said before, that it's a statement of the fact that Clement is fed up of Cantwell and doesn't want, is just absolutely fed up to the back teeth of what he does. Others could say he was protecting his player and telling him not to be so daft, because confronting a ref, ranting at a ref, you can land yourself in a whole host of trouble. You get sent off. That suspension may then go over to next season, obviously impact Rangers if Cantwell is still at the club. So, look, we don't know what went on. We don't know what Clement said. We don't know why Clement reacted the way he did. Now, we know that Clement was exceptionally angry at the referee as well and was disappointed with the decisions that Nick Walsh made throughout the game. He said as much after that game. He talked about how at corners and set pieces, Celtic continue to hold our players and seemingly get away with it. Yet at other times, it was them that were given the benefit of the doubt. The Sterling booking, the foul on Sterling in the area where he's shoved over by Scales, which should have been at least a free kick on the edge of the area, and a booking for Scales, which would have, I think, changed the game to some degree with Scales on a booking. He was clearly unhappy with the decisions that Nick Walsh made, and I think we all can agree that Nick Walsh was absolutely appalling on Saturday in that cup final. But as for Todd Cantwell's future, I think it, remains clouded at this point. I think that, given the fact that at times this season, him and Clement have not seen eye to eye, that Clement wants players who will follow his instructions and play where he wants them to play, not necessarily where they want to play. I do think Cantwell sees himself as an out-and-out 10, and that is it. Although he has had success on the left side for Norwich in the Premier League, which is obviously very interesting indeed. Does Cantwell have a future at this club? Look, personally, I hope he does. I think he's a very talented player. I think he's a very skillful player. I think he's a player who can unlock defenses with his passing. I think he can score a lot more goals. I think he does rile and wind them up, which is a good thing. I think, that he is a player that perhaps needs, though, to add certain things to his game. Number one, I think he needs to add a bit more calm at times and not get himself so riled up. Number two, I think he needs to make sure that he is always ready to and deliver in those big games to show the player he truly is, which he doesn't always do, which is very frustrating when you have a player with his talent, his skill. Realistically, this summer is going to be huge. There will be, hopefully a massive rebuild with a number of players going out the door. But, realistically, we cannot afford to allow all these top players to leave. If there are bids coming in for certain players like Rid van Yilmaz, like Todd Cantwell, like Jack Butland, it makes that squad rebuild even harder, meaning you're left with players that perhaps you don't want at the club anymore. And I accept that, you're not going to get probably a king's ransom for some of these players that we do want out of the club, like Robbie Matondo, like Scott Wright, players like Connor Goldson and James Tavernier, both who need to get out of our club. I think, you're perhaps not going to get the money because who's going to take them? Who's going to want to buy them? Whereas those more saleable assets are players you probably don't want to lose. Cantwell, for me, though, is a player who, like I said, I think he frustrates the fan base. I think he divides the fan base. But, if you look at some of his statistics from this season, he works exceptionally hard. He tackles, he leads the press, he is energetic, he gets after them. And I think you saw that at times in that final against Celtic on Saturday. For me, Cantwell is a player we need to keep at the club. Even if, next season he's not always a starter, he is a bit part player. I still think he can have a role to play for the club. We just simply cannot sell all our talent and get rid of every single player. Like I said, yes, he does need to rein it in a little bit. But overall, I'm hoping that he does have a future at Ibrox. But it does seem there are suggestions that Clement does not want him at the club beyond the end of the season and will obviously sign off on any sale of Cantwell. I mean, look, if some English club comes in and offers us 3, 4, 5 million for him, 6 million for him, take it. I mean, look, it's reasonable funds that can go into team rebuild. But realistically, I do hope he is here next season. Guys, let me know what you think of what happened yesterday. Obviously, this incident with Big Phil at the end of the game. And also, please let me know what you think of Todd Cantwell and whether he should remain at the club beyond the end of this season. Thank you for watching Glasgow Rangers Nation, guys. Please obviously hit that sub, ring that notification bell. And if on the way out, you can do me a favor, well, 2 actually. Number 1, remember, hit the like. It defeats the algorithm. And number 2, remember always, we are the people.